Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Dr. Page and I'm the chair of the Department of Kinesiology. Dr. Bennett always asks me to come in and speak about this topic, in particular, religious diversity. Let me preface it by saying I am not a theologian. I do not have a degree in theology. What I have is various life experiences and my own research on different religions and trying to understand people from different cultures, different religions in different countries. So a little bit about me. I was born a very strict Southern Baptist. We went to church 3 times a week. It was on Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday. My father was a deacon in the church. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. So it played a very important part of me growing up. I went to the military, and it was that time that I started meeting people from different religions and different cultures in the various countries I've traveled around the world. And it really opened my eyes to how other people worship, how they believe, and what they hold near and dear to themselves. And I also met many people who were not religious. So just want to get that out of the way that I'm sure there are some of you that are much more informed about specific doctrine or the religious beliefs that you may believe. My coming here is just talking to you about it from a professional standpoint as far as what you will see in the workplace and how you can think about it differently and not from your own point of view so much. So let's go ahead and get started. Why are many people hesitant to talk about religion to those they do not know well? Well, first, you don't want to get blamed with, trying to convert someone, or you don't want to come off as being so-called preachy to someone. But really, it becomes a lot of people view it as a taboo subject, when really, it doesn't have to be. You just have to be respectful of one another, respectful of those who do believe certain things and those who may not believe it or believe something completely different. You don't necessarily have to agree with them, but you need to be respectful. And the reason it becomes, because these beliefs are held very personal, and it is at the core of who they are. And anytime you have something that is that close to who they are, then people become passionate about it. So if we look at why is it even a topic we talk about, even in professional settings, so let's take morals and ethics, right? Which one would be based upon religious beliefs? That would be morals. Morals are based upon religious, spiritual beliefs. So if you look at it, with the Christian religion, the 10 Commandments, okay, those are morals. However, you then have ethics. And many of you will go into a profession where there is a professional code of ethics or ethical standards you must follow. Where this gets blurry is that many times these intertwine because ethics are based upon societal expectations, but morals also affect societal expectations. And so there's a lot of crossing over it. If you look at it, look at the following questions I have. Should we edit genes? Well, that can become a moral and an ethical question also. Next one, you find out your best friend is being cheated on. Well, that deals more with morals than it does necessarily with any kind of professional ethics or societal expectations, other than the fact that we expect not to be cheated on, but it really becomes, more of a moral question. Is it okay to steal? That was kind of self-explanatory. It's based upon, your moral beliefs, but also that if you steal and you get convicted of it, then you can lose your state licensing. So, therefore, that's how it crosses over. Should we make everyone normal? Well, that comes into the question, what is normal? And I believe all of you have had at least Psychology 1101, where we learn that, well, nothing is normal. There is no normal, because that's so hard to define. Should people have privacy online? Okay, so that, more of an ethical question. You know, what in the world in which you grew up is very different than the one in which old people like me grew up, where, you know, we didn't have to worry about the cameras recording everything we do or any kind of data we put into computers. I mean, I personally remember I actually grew up without a computer in my home, so trust me, it was a different world back then. Should we clone humans? This is a question that has been debated morally and ethically. Morally, people will say, well, you're trying to act like God. Ethically, we're saying, should you even take that responsibility of trying to create life in your own hands to clone someone? Should we impose population controls? Again, it crosses the boundaries of both. If you look at it, ethically, could some argue that it might be a good thing in which to do? Sure. But it's easy to argue against it too. So the reason I have these questions, and there are many others that you can think of, where morals and ethics cross the boundaries, is because in the professional workplace, you will have a standard or a code of ethics that you're expected to follow. But you must also be mindful that those ethics are based upon how people view those ethics are based upon their moral beliefs and could be on what religion, or if they're religious at all, and what they follow. So what and why? What is religious diversity? Okay, we all know what diversity is, hopefully at this point in this course especially. It's basically two or more things that are coming in contact with one another. These things, of course, in this instance, would be religious groups in a specific geopolitical region. So if you remember back to your U.S. government class or your sociology class, geopolitical religion would simply be your state, your county, could be your country. And with the world becoming more transient, you have people from different cultures, different religions that are coming into contact with one another much more on an everyday basis than before. Much more so. There was a time in Georgia within my lifetime where you can go your whole life and the religions that you come in, or the denominations, not even religions, you would come in contact with would be Baptists and Methodists. That has changed greatly. It has changed greatly. The area in which we currently reside is seeing a population boom, which is one of the biggest in the state of Georgia, where you have people from all over the world that would be moving to this area. And with that, they bring their own beliefs. So if you think about all the religions that you can name, you can also think about denominations, because you have Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Episcopal. Those would be all denominations within Protestantism. But if you think about all the religions that you can name, so I'm going to give you a few minutes just to write those down. Okay, so now that you have some down, let's look at what religions, correction on that, please, I'm so sorry. We'll look at that in a minute. let's talk about the different religions. So keep that list I just had. So let's talk about the different religions and why it matters in the United States. Well, as you were taught from hopefully elementary school all the way up, is that in America we have freedom of religion. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. So that means they cannot tell you you cannot have that religion. That means that they will not endorse that religion. That means that you have the freedom of religion. However, it also means that others have the freedom of religion, which may not agree with your religion. Okay? So that's where a lot of people get confused. I have freedom of religion. Yes, but you also need to respect that someone else has freedom of religion or not to even have a religion also. So if you take the list that we talked about, 2 slides ago, and if you look at the major religious groups in the United States, well, if you see where we are in Georgia, which we would be right in this area here where the cursor is. Southern Baptist Convention. It's kind of red. And if you see everything else, it's very red. So the largest reporting group, this is not the only group, but the largest reporting group is Southern Baptist. So you have in this area, United Methodists, American Baptists. You have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons in this area. Lutheran, Evangelical Lutheran. The green would be the United Methodist Church. Christian churches and churches of Christ would be this color. So you have some of those in these areas. But one thing to remember, all of these religions, or the majority of these religions, I should say the majority of them, would fall under Protestantism. Okay? Almost all would fall under Protestantism, except for the purple. So if you see purple, that would not be. But if you see all these other ones that we discussed, the red, the yellow, green, Protestantism. The purple, the largest reporting group is the Catholic Church. So up in the Northeast, if you take where Dr. Bennett is from in Maine, the largest group would be the Catholic Church. Also in Texas, which has a large Hispanic population, it would be the Catholic Church. All of California. But keep in mind, this is just the reporting groups. This is not saying the only by far. But as if you've ever ridden around Georgia or South Carolina and you've driven through a small town, there's a Baptist church, there's a Methodist church, and usually about 2 or 3 of them within every town. So those are the largest reporting groups. So the major religions found in the United States. So you have Protestant, which is 51.3% of the United States. Of those, of the people in the United States would list themselves as Protestant. That does not mean actively going to church every day, actively engaged. They just consider themselves, yes, I believe in God, yes, I believe in whatever denomination of Protestantism that I follow. Southern Baptist, could be Methodist, it could be Baptist, it could be American Baptist, Lutheran, Episcopal, whatever it is. So that is the largest group. Then at 23.9, you have Roman Catholic. If we go back to the previous, I apologize, I was attempting to go back, but if you go back to the previous slide, the amount of purple on the United States map was very large. But in reality, of all the people in the United States, it only makes up 23.9%. Other Christian, you have nothing, 12.1%. Agnostic, atheist, okay? Unknown, other religions, Hindu, 0.4, Muslim, 0.6, Buddhist, 0.7, Jewish, 1.7, other Christian, 3.3. So the interesting thing in the United States, and actually in Europe at this time, is the growth of this area here. Reporting not being religious, nothing. They're not agnostic, they're not atheist. There is a difference between agnostic and atheist also. But the ones that are growing would be just the nothing. So while we do have religious diversity in the United States, as you can see, the overwhelming predominant one would be Protestant. But now within that could be very misleading because you have some that are devout believers that go to church as much as possible, and you have those who may have not been in church in a very, very long time. So you take this, statistics. That's just all it is. There's something to take into account. But in a professional workplace, depending on where you are, you may have a representative from every group easily in this. You can easily have. Or for those of you that want to go on to physical therapy school or occupational therapy school, or to CNL to be a nurse or whatever it is, or med school, then you also need to understand that your patients will come from these various backgrounds. And while the predominant majority of your patients may be Protestant, you may understand their beliefs. So let's say you grew up in this area, you totally understand it. You need to understand the patients and what their beliefs are when it comes from another one. Not because there are many things that you will come in contact with your colleagues that you work with or with your possible patients that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with them, because it may come into effect. So, what place does religion have in the workplace? Well, many people will say, especially in the government workplace, well, it has no place. It's not there. The thing you must think about, though, if you're in a non-government workplace, then it can have a lot of effect. But if you're even in a government workplace, religious practices. Many times, as you know, here at in the Department of Kinesiology, we also have the activity classes. And we have students who, due to their religious beliefs, they cannot work out in an environment in which they are around men. So we had to create special sections to make them comfortable in which they can work out and still meet the requirements of all students, while also respecting their beliefs. But one thing that you can think about what for those and everyone who's pretty much grown up in the United States, is that we're used to our weekends being Saturday and Sunday. And that Sunday, especially in the South, if you want to go for a drink or if you want to go, to the bar, it's hard to find one open. Especially in smaller environments, and maybe in larger cities it would be easier, but in smaller places it would not. This is simply based upon religion. And Protestantism, Roman Catholic, is basically a Christian, because it's on a Sunday is when it's hard to find things. So, but that's not the religious holiday or the religious day of the week, the religious day of the week for everyone. Something to keep in mind. Also, when it comes to office decorations, how many times have you walked into a doctor's office or anything and it's decorated for Christmas? You walk into places around this campus and it's decorated at Christmas. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. What I'm saying is that you need to be mindful of how those who may not be Christian feel at that time. One reason in which our department chooses not to decorate for Christmas or have Christmas decorations up is that we have people from very different religious backgrounds and religious beliefs, even within our department. So, and a workplace should be somewhere in which you feel and everyone feels welcome, and all students feel welcome in our instance, because we have students who believe a wide ranging of things and they follow different religions. Now others, it may not bother them one bit. Someone can be, Buddhist and the Christmas decorations may not bother them. They may be Jewish and the Christmas decorations may not bother them. I'm not saying it does everyone. What I'm saying is just to be aware of it and to know, and it's better to ask than not. It's much better. You can also be very, very religious and a Christian and a Protestant, and you still do not believe in decorating for Christmas. Because of there are those within the Protestant religion and within Christianity that believe you should celebrate the true meaning of Christmas and not more the commercialized what it has become. It's not for me to get into. That's a debate others can have. But it's just very important to think about those instances and how others feel. Clothing. Many times we hear throughout the news, if a Muslim woman is allowed to wear a burqa, or if they are a head covering or a scarf, or they can wear it or they can't wear it. A lot of that comes down to their religious beliefs. And asking them to change that would be just like asking a Christian to never go to church again, for instance. You have to be respectful because, again, we go back to the Constitution of the United States. Everyone has a freedom of religion. May not be what you agree with, but they have the freedom to do it. Just like you have the freedom to do it and you would want your freedom honored, you would need to honor someone else's. Personal space. This is a big one also, especially when you're interacting with someone. There are some people who are more, as I call them, touchy-feely than others. They would touch someone when they're talking to them. I'm not one of those people, but there are many people that you would greatly offend them if they're from a different culture or religion than others. I'm not saying that we have to be, again, please understand, my argument is not to change anyone. Mine is just to make you think. That's it, just think. Major religious holidays of clients in the area that you live in. This one can be a big one because if you were to ask, for instance, let's say you had a patient come in who was Muslim and they could not eat for 24 hours beforehand, especially if it's during Ramadan. So they're already fasting during the day, daylight hours. But then at night, when the sun goes down, they can then eat. But you're then asking them to fast for 24 hours in addition to that in between. You have to be careful of that because it may be the time could work out that person has not eaten in almost 2 days. So be careful of that. Even in sports, for those that want to go into like athletic training, If you have your team, or if you're an athletic trainer and the coach has the team out working in the middle of the day and it is hot and it is sweaty and they say, water break, and you've got Muslim students and it's during Ramadan. I've personally seen this where they will not drink water. That would be your responsibility either as the coach or as the athletic trainer to remind the coach, hey, we've got to watch this, these players, because they're not taking water in and they're losing way too much hydration. So things like that is the reason that you need to be aware, because whatever path you choose in kinesiology, almost always you've got to work with the public and those of different backgrounds. Diet would be another one. Some people are vegetarian or they're vegan, and that's based upon their religion. If they are, then if you order lunch for everyone and you do not order a vegetarian option, then you are ostracizing that person. You may not mean to, you're trying to do a good thing by ordering lunch for everyone. But you can't order a lunch in which they can't eat it. So at the end of the day, it's all about flexibility and understanding. Because of the profession in which you've chosen, you're going to work with people. As I just stated, just be aware. If it's from coaching to personal training to PT to working in an operating room, whatever it is, you've got to be mindful of the patient, of the client, or the player. And to keep that in perspective, because at the end of the day, when you're working with people in a business environment, it's not necessarily about what you believe, but if you're serving the public, the client, the player, is what their beliefs are that you have to take into account. Okay? So hopefully I've given you something to think about, something to reflect upon. I believe that Dr. Bennett will be giving you an assignment with this, and hopefully it won't be too rigorous on you. It definitely won't be a test or anything. Hope all of you have a good rest of the summer, and for most of you, I will see you around in the department, hopefully in fall. Have a good day.